Today I'm going to show you guys how to add beads and string to a dream catcher weaving. So a dream catcher weaving is a circular weaving that's on a piece of cardboard, which I've been working on in class with my 5th graders. And so if your dream catcher looks like this, which means it's full of yarn all the way to the edges as far as you can go, then you're ready to add beads to turn it into something like this. So it looks more dream catcher like. Now, if your weaving looks like this, then you're not ready yet. So keep on weaving. So, that's the first step, is to have your weaving ready, okay? And so there should be no loose ends, no loose string. There was that loose string, at the beginning or at the very end that we should have taped down on the back to hold it still, or tied off in a knot. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna gather your supplies. So I have all of my supplies right here, as you can see. There we go. So I've got my dream catcher that's all ready to go. I have just some regular thinner string. You can use thread if you want, but thread could be a little too thick to put through all the beads. I've got some scissors and I've got my beads. And for the string to hold your dream catcher up, if you want it to have a color, you could use yarn to hold your dream catcher up instead of string, but you could just use string for everything. That'll be fine too. I'm going to go ahead and add yarn to hold my dream catcher up. So that's the string that's at the top. Okay, so this is what you would like hang on your door, hang on your wall, or wherever you want to hang this, hang it from a hook on the ceiling. That's this brown string up here. That's what we're about to add first. Then we're going to do the beads. So the beads have to be on regular string. Well, they don't have to, but my students need to put it on regular string. But for the top, the part to hold it up, you can either use regular string or you can use yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it with yarn, because I think it looks a little nicer for that top string. It adds a little more color. Okay, so back down here. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to kind of put the beads in the string out of the way. So I'm just going to take off a little bit of yarn, about a foot and a half or so, 12 to 18 inches. What I'm going to do is I need to decide what on my weaving is going to be the top and the bottom. Now, if you look at my weaving, you can see that there are some areas where the cardboard's a little thinner, the cardboard's a little thicker. So to make it even, I don't want to have it like this, where like the thin part's on one side and the thick part's on the other side. So I want to shift it so that the thinnest part of that cardboard's at the top of my weaving, and the thickest part of that cardboard's at the bottom. Okay, so this is going to be the top of my weaving. So I'm going to turn it over to remember that this is the top. So if this is the very top of that circle, then I want to tie this string through these 2 notches, because I want it to not come up from the center, but come up kind of from just off center on each side. So I'm just going to take one end of my yarn and I'm going to slide it under one of those little notches. So I'm actually picking that little loop of string up, and I'm sliding my yarn underneath it. This can be a little tricky, so you might want to twist up your yarn and hold it all together and slide it under. And I'm going to take this side, I'm going to slide under this little loop. So again, I'm going to twist up my yarn, slide it up under the loop. So now I have my 2 ends, each going under a separate loop. I'm just going to take them, I'm going to tie them together in a knot. Just a little crisscross and under once. And then if you have a friend, you can have your friend put their finger right there to hold it still for you. And crisscross and under again. And that second time should make a nice little knot. It's not going to come undone. I'm going to trim my ends just a little bit shorter. If you're in my classroom, please don't throw these on the floor. Throw them in the trash can. And now I have my string. And so you can see that it holds it up very nicely. Now, if you want this to be spread out more, then on the back, you would just move it from this loop down to like maybe this loop, and from there down to there, to spread that out a little more. But I think this looks just fine. And if you don't want to have this much string holding it up, then you just cut off less string before you tie your knots, okay? So now we're going to add beads to hang from the bottom, which is going to make it look really nice. So before you start hanging your beads, you need to kind of think about where you want your beads to hang from. You don't want to have a whole bunch of beads hanging from one side and none hanging from the other. You really want it to be kind of centered, kind of balanced. So I like to usually do 3 strands of beads. I think that looks really nice. One coming down from the very center, and then one from each side. If you like a little more beads, you could do 4, so like 2 from one side and 2 from the other side. It's kind of up to you. I'm going to do 3 because I think that looks the best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to turn it over like that. So I'm going to have my beads hanging from the middle and then from these 2 sides. And I'm going to take my string. I'm going to do some string, and if I want my length of bead to be like this much, then I need to have more than double that. I need to have over twice as much string. Okay, and I'm going to cut it off like so. Now, I've got my beads, and I picked some beads that are the same colors as my weaving, so blues and greens. It's always nice to have a color scheme or just kind of a selected color palette. It'll make your weaving look a lot better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first find a really large bead for the bottom. This is a good time to do maybe like a charm or some kind of more interesting bead. So I have this nice big blue bead, and I'm going to take my string, and I'm going to get one end of the string, and I'm just going to put it through my bead. Like that, like you're making a necklace. Now, after that first bead, I'm going to take both ends of my string, and I'm going to put those 2 ends together, okay? And I'm going to hold them together and slide my bead to the bottom. So now the rest of the beads that you put on this string, you're going to put through both, or you're going to put both ends of the string through each bead. So let me show you. So let me grab a green bead. And so I'm not putting one end through the beads. I'm putting both of these ends through my bead. Okay, so I've twisted them both together. I'm going to stick them both through the bead. And so now that bottom bead is what holds my other beads on the string. So I could do like a pattern, or you could just put random beads on. It's totally up to you. But now you just start filling up your string with beads, which is going to look really nice. So that's going to take a minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so once you think that you have enough beads and this is long enough to hang down from your dream catcher and look really nice, then you're ready to tie it on. Now you're going to tie your knot on the back of your dream catcher, so you want to remember where you wanted to hang it from. So I wanted to hang one from right here. So what I'm going to do is I have these 2 pieces of string together, these 2 ends together, to put the beads onto both of them. Now I'm going to take them and I'm going to pull them apart again. I'm going to separate them, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these ends and I'm going to put it under the loop that's on the back of my dream catcher from where I want to hang it. Okay, so I'm just going to slide it under like that. I'm going to pull it all the way up so that my beads go up to that loop. Now the other one, I'm not going to put under this loop. So I have one going underneath it and one going on top of it. Now I can take them and tie them in a knot. Just crisscross and under once. Crisscross and under twice. And just to make sure my beads don't fall off while this is hanging up, I usually do like crisscross and under 3 or even 4 times maybe, like that. Then you can trim off most of your extra ends, and if you don't want them to be sticking out from the front of the weaving, you can tape it down, but the tape isn't to hold the weight of the beads. The tape's just to keep that out of view. So then you can see that when I pick it up, now I have now I have a string of beads hanging down from my dream catcher, and it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I think it looks pretty nice. But that's kind of boring, just with one thing of beads. So, oh, it's off center. There you go. So I want to hang a couple more. I'm going to hang one from this side. I'm going to hang one from this side. So I'm just going to repeat those steps again. So here we go. Okay. So the reason I didn't tie on my second string yet is because I wanted to make my other string, my third string, and I wanted to make them both the same since we have this nice fun long one in the middle of the weaving coming down from the middle. I want the two that come down from the sides to be the same length. It would look kind of weird if you had one coming down from the sides that was really, really long and the other one was short. It makes more sense for them to be kind of the same. So now I made both of them, I can go ahead and tie them both on. So again, I want them coming from kind of close to the same spot on each side. So the trick is to find a loop that's kind of in the same spot. So go ahead and tie those on the same way you did the first one. And we're done. So you should have your 3 all tied on. And now you have an adorable little Dreamcatcher weaving. Now, if you look at it and you're like, oh, that's not very much, you can always add more. You could always make another string of beads or 2 more strings of beads. You could put 2 more like medium length right there, or you could put some from the side. And I'm also going to let my students add some feathers onto theirs too. So a lot of kids like to take their feathers and glue them to the bead at the bottom. Which is pretty easy. You can either just use a hot glue gun and just put like a little teeny tiny drop of glue on the back of the bead and then stick your feather on. Or sometimes kids will put their feathers kind of coming out from inside the beads, which is pretty cool. I also have some kids who kind of just stick their feathers in under their weaving and kind of stick it out around it and make a frame, which looks really nice. So the feathers kind of stick to the Native American vibe that we're going for with our Dreamcatcher weavings. So that's it for these. I think it looks pretty good, ready to hang it above my bed and catch some of my bad dreams. So I hope you enjoyed my video.